midlife season of your life feel a little messy or overwhelming? If so, you're not alone. It happens to a lot of us. In fact, I think it happens to most of us. We're going to be talking about how to fix that today. We're going to be talking all about grace today, including what it is, how to apply it, and how to use it to power through the messy middle parts of life and get back on track to moving in the right direction again. Let's be real. Life isn't always neat and tidy, and we don't always tiptoe through the tulips. While there are certainly moments and seasons of joy and ease, not all of life is like that, and sometimes it can be really hard. It also breaks my heart when I see women beating themselves up because it is hard, because they're struggling to get through it, or when they react to it in all kind of outlandish ways. These middle parts, especially for middle-aged women, can be particularly challenging. Many of us are navigating a minefield of changes, responsibilities, and emotions that can leave us feeling befuddled at best, frazzled, and either overwhelmed or underwhelmed, not to mention underappreciated and undervalued. That's not a fun place to be. So the key to success isn't wishing and hoping that things will somehow get better and the universe will look a little more kindly upon us. It's about being intentional and choosing to navigate through the messiness and awkwardness and whatever of life with just a little bit more dignity and grace. Let's talk for a minute about what grace actually is. Grace is often defined as simple elegance or refinement of movement. You might picture it as a beautiful swan floating gracefully across the water, or maybe a lovely ballerina effortlessly twirling and gliding across the stage. Or maybe you're even picturing something a little more along the lines of the demure and cutesy, or whatever that ridiculous social media trend was. However you picture grace, you might be thinking, that's not my life and none of those things are me. So why are we talking about grace in the middle? Well, I'm here to tell you, join the club. They are not me either. And when we talk about adding a little more grace to our lives, that's not what we're really talking about. Because when we talk about grace in our lives, it takes on a different and also a deeper meaning. It's really about offering kindness and understanding and forgiveness to ourselves and also to others. Because life can beat us up a bit. It's about recognizing that perfection is just an illusion. The ups and downs and ins and outs are all part of life. They're going to happen no matter what we do. And our worth is not defined by our flaws and failures. And grace really is about choosing to move through life and whatever it happens to throw at us with a sense of peace and acceptance and doing whatever we can to let it be a little bit easier. How do we do that? I don't know about you, but I've had a rough few years. I haven't always been graceful or peaceful or even accepting of what's going on. How do we turn that around? Because, again, it's not a great place to live. I can tell you that from personal experience. As Maya Angelou so famously said, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. I think that really applies to how to put grace into our life. It starts simply with acknowledging your feelings and letting them be whatever they are. I don't believe there are any such thing as good feelings or bad feelings. They're all part of the human experience. Whether it's frustration, sadness, anxiety, or whatever, your emotions are valid. And ignoring them or pretending they don't exist won't make them go away, and it doesn't keep the peace. However, attempting to shut them down will only make things worse by further disconnecting you from yourself and actually prolonging the pain. I want you to know it's okay to feel whatever you feel and to let it be whatever it is. There's a little saying out there that says, you've got to feel it to heal it. I believe that's true. It's okay to let some of those things show too. Many of us have been trained to shut off our emotions and to only let happiness and sunshine and rainbows show on the surface. And while that may work in the short run, it definitely doesn't work long term and will do much more harm than good. In fact, you'll soon find yourself in a mixed up mess of emotional, mental health, and probably also relationship problems if that's how you continue to operate. If you're already there and that's how you learn to survive life, let's first take a pause and congratulate you for surviving this stuff that no human should ever have to experience. But now it's time to recognize that while those skills may have protected you before, they're not working in your current situation, and it's time to replace them with something that does. That's where grace comes in. If you're ready to replace that old belief about emotions and whether it's okay to show them or not, here's a little something I want you to think about. That belief didn't come from inside of you. It came from some external source, probably a parent, a teacher, or someone else who you looked up to and respected, who essentially said to you, I need you to stop doing that, feeling that, or acting like that so that I feel better. Because in reality, I'm the one who doesn't know how to deal with those things. And your anger, sadness, and frustration make me feel uncomfortable. I want you to sit with that one for just a minute and see if you can pinpoint a time when you heard that message in your own life. It wasn't about you and it wasn't about your emotions. It was about them. That brings us to our next way to bring a little more grace into our lives. And that is offering grace to other people. No one is perfect. We all make mistakes. We've all done things that we're not proud of. And we've all desperately wanted and needed grace for ourselves when that happens. It's important that we are willing to give others that same level of grace when they make mistakes. Does that mean we tolerate abuse? Absolutely not. But that's a discussion about safety and boundaries for another day. Just rest assured that we can still offer grace and still maintain boundaries at the same time. How do we do that? Well, number one, we start by practicing empathy. That means looking at things from their perspective and trying to see how they feel, what's going on from them, and what their point of view is. It's important that we look at what is driving this behavior for them, and is what they're throwing at me really about me, or is it actually about them? And that brings us to number two, of letting go of judgment and resentment. It is so easy to judge other people and blame them for all the problems, especially when we're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, or especially when we're feeling hurt. But holding on to these things only creates more tension and negativity for ourselves and often in the relationships as well. Instead, practice letting go of judgments and accepting people as they are, both for better and for worse. If they show you who they are, believe them and let them be who they are, what they are, and do whatever they do. It's honestly none of your business. Just you do you somewhere else if it collides with them doing them. You've likely heard that expression, let go and let God. This is the best time ever to practice and learn this. Because truthfully, God is a better judge than any of us will ever be. And learning to let go and let Him carry the load and deal with all the details frees us from the responsibility to have to do it ourselves. And interestingly enough, it's also what allows the grace of God to flow more freely in our lives, which is one of my favorite forms of grace. The last way to bring more grace into our lives, though, is to simply embrace the changes and stay in the chapter that we're in. There's no jumping ahead. There's no looking behind. For most of us, we don't need to rush out and pick out our caskets just yet. But also, trying to relive your teenage and college years of life in this stage isn't going to make you any younger, and it's not going to help you hold on to your youth any longer. It just creates a lot of social and emotional mismatch and confusion and drives a lot of reckless decisions. And it also perpetuates cycles of dysfunction. And yes, don't be surprised if it also creates big problems in your relationships with your grown kids as well. all those things that happened before, those past seasons, they are in the past. And while they may have been wonderful and good, and you may feel like they were your glory days, they're over and they're done now. And it's time to move into this new season of life and to be here now in the one that we're in, and to make this the most important season and our most favorite glory days of all, because there really is so much beauty and freedom to be found here. Midlife is often a time of very significant change, from physical transformations in our bodies to shifts in our personal relationships and professional roles. Yeah, it can take a minute to work through some of those things and those adjustments, but do it. Embrace those changes as opportunities to move forward, to grow, and also for self-discovery now. We have the freedom to do that. I get that change can be uncomfortable, but it's also a chance to redefine who we are and to create that life and that person we want for our next chapter. Honestly, that's really what Grace in the Middle is all about. Grace is a great place to start on this journey of midlife discovery. It's about being a little softer, a little gentler, a little kinder, especially to ourselves and other people, and to be where we are. But it's also not going to be enough. Once you make that decision to move forward and to try and do this thing called life a little more gracefully than we've done before, we might need to also fact check some of those stories that we're telling ourselves. Be sure to check out that video up top and all the resources available in the description below to help bring a little more grace into your life. One of my favorites is my free guide that offers 10 very concrete, very easy things you can do each and every day to build your confidence and learn to love yourself a little bit more every day. Go check those out. Be sure to request a copy of it for yourself, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.